So most business advice online tells you that to grow your business, you need to work more hours, do more tasks, and completely lose your life to sitting behind your desk. But that's actually how you end up slowing down your growth, working 80-hour weeks, and being the bottleneck in your business. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact system that'll get you back 20 plus hours a week and stop you from being the bottleneck so that you can work less but scale faster. And this all hinges on the fact that most entrepreneurs are making one mistake that is costing them massively. And the best way to explain it is sort of like golf. The whole point of the game is to get the ball in the hole in as few shots as possible. But imagine you were out there deliberately taking extra shots. It's pretty stupid, right? Well, that's how most business owners run their business. You let your time get pulled in every direction, reacting to whatever lands in front of you without ever questioning whether it's the best use of the most important resource in your business, your time, okay? Your time is the one thing everything else is determined by, because if you spend your time on the right things, on the right tasks, the right decisions, the right systems, your business will grow exponentially. But if you spend it on the wrong things, if you waste it on the wrong things, it doesn't just cost you time. It'll cost you, the right decisions, and it'll cost you the work that actually moves the needle because you'll never get it done. So if we're going to steal back, 20 hours a week, the first thing you need to do is actually see where exactly your time is going. And the best way to explain this is I had a client who was convinced that he was using his time well, but quite frankly, he just wasn't. And I knew it, right? But I just had to get him to see it himself, because until he's willing to make the change, he won't make the change, okay? So I get him to do this exercise, and what came out, it really shocked him. See, he was checking in with his team every 5 minutes. He was answering questions. He was, helping his team out. He was, being helpful. And that sounds good. It sounds like the right thing to do, but it meant he never got near the important business owner work. And it was eating up around 10 hours a week, which meant when we fixed that, he instantly got back 10 hours every single week. So if you want to do the same exercise to see where your time is going, what you need to do is write down every single task you do in your business. Look, there is no easy way to do this, okay? But make sure that you do it. You just have to sit there, you have to think it through, or you spend the next week just noting things down as you do them. But once you've done that, you want to categorize everything into one of three categories: $10 an hour work, $100 an hour work, and $1,000 an hour work. Now, once you've got that done, the next step is then to start taking things off your plate. But the order you do this in matters more than you think, because there is a way to make it easy and there's a way to make it hard. So you want to sort of treat this like a snowball rolling down a hill. A snowball starts small, picks up a little snow, it gets slightly bigger, it picks up some more, and before long it's moving fast, it's growing on its own, it's big, right? Delegation should essentially work the same way. You don't want to start by handing off the big, complex, important stuff. Like, you can, but the better way to do it is you start small, you free up a little time, and then use that extra time to properly systemize and hand off the next thing, which frees up more time, which lets you delegate more, and so on. So you essentially want to start with your $10 an hour tasks, systemize and delegate them first, and because they're the smallest and easiest things to hand off. Then you want to move up to your $100 an hour work, and then potentially your $1,000 an hour tasks. But really, they're the ones that are going to be more likely to be your business owner work and that need you. So they're what you're probably going to be spending most of your time on anyway. So they're not going anywhere just yet. And typically what happens is you'll find around 10 to 20 hours, depending on you, obviously, in your business, from big tasks that you should just not be doing, that are essentially low value and that can be delegated. And then you'll find another 10 or so hours from inefficiencies, the likes of 30 minutes here and there jumping between tasks, responding to messages that aren't urgent, sitting in meetings that don't need you, getting distracted, trying to figure out what to work on. All these small things that add up, which is also why it's so damn important to work on improving yourself. Because if you cannot improve yourself, you cannot improve how you operate. And that means your business cannot improve, because it is all downstream of you and how you operate, act, prioritize, execute, and think. But either way, after working with countless 6, 7, 8-figure business owners, it's actually incredibly easy to find around 20 hours a week. The main constraint is you and your ability and willingness to let go. And like, one of the major reasons business owners struggle to let go is this idea and belief that nobody is going to do the tasks the right way. So let me show you how to fix that. Like, I once had a client who refused to hand off sales calls, okay? And now, in his defense, he was the best person in the business at closing, right? So he kept doing the calls, which meant his week stayed, stacked back to back to back with calls. And of course, the business stayed stuck because he can only take so many calls in a week. It was only when we built a proper system around closing that he finally was willing to hand it off. And once he did, he had the time to go and do the marketing work that would book more calls in the first place, which meant the business grew. And he was no longer the bottleneck. See, the reason people can't do things the right way is because you've never shown them exactly how you want them to do it, and you've no way to objectively measure their performance. But a good system makes it clear exactly how something gets done, when it gets done, and what good looks like. And a scorecard lets you track the data and monitor performance without having to be in the room. You can then review it daily or weekly, and either way, systems and scorecards mean you're not micromanaging, okay? You're just watching the numbers of the data, and if something goes wrong, you can see it, you can then identify the problem, and you can direct your team to fix it and solve the damn problem. Now, if you're wondering how those scorecards should look, I'll leave a template in the description below, which you can get for free. So, make sure you check it out. But see, as soon as you start to delegate, you're going to end up actually with a lot of free time. And the question then is, what should your week actually look like? But seeing as I run my ghostwriting agency, I asked myself this exact question when I started delegating things. And what I realized is that founders tend to end up in one of two schedules. There's the operator schedule, which is where most founders, get stuck at, and it's sort of where everyone ends up until they build systems. And it just is back-to-back meetings, constant interruptions, reacting to whatever lands in front of you. And you're sort of never more than 5 minutes away from a message or task that's going to pull you off track of what you're doing. You work all day, but at the end of it, you look back and you struggle to name one thing that actually moved the business forward and moved the needle. And then there's the CEO schedule. This is long blocks of uninterrupted time, even entire days with nothing in them but the work that matters. You essentially end up with free, unscheduled space to think, to make decisions, to work on the things that only you can do. Now, the CEO schedule looks like less work, and maybe it is if you want it to be, but the main difference is that it's better work, okay? It's about recognizing that at a certain level in business, your most important work is not the day-to-day tasks. It's not the emails. It's not helping your team. It is the decisions that you make. It is the strategy and vision for the company. It is the big projects, all of these things which need time and space. And you'll never get that space if your week is built around everyone else's agenda instead of your own, which, look, this can feel wrong, okay? And that's normal. Like, you've spent your entire career in business getting this positive reinforcement from working. The more you work, the more you grow. And you train yourself to be like, okay, this is how I need to work. I need to work as many hours as I can. But eventually, doing everything, working all day, stops working, because the things that will take your business to the next level are not the things that got it to the current level, okay? And so something has to change. And in fact, you have to change. You need the time and space to make better decisions and work solely on the high leverage tasks and projects. So because of this positive reinforcement that you've gotten over the years, when you start to remove yourself from the day-to-day, there is this uncomfortable feeling that creeps in. You'll wonder if you're still adding value, if you're doing the right things. You'll maybe even catch yourself checking things that you told someone else to own, that you delegated it to them. You'll feel like you should be doing more, because for years, doing more was essentially your job. Being busy felt like being a good business owner, but that's what's keeping you stuck. You're holding on to a version of yourself that needs to be in the day-to-day, and letting go of that is harder than any audit or scorecard or system. And it really does require you to get amazing at managing your time correctly. So click this video on screen now, and I'll show you exactly how to do that.